welcome to Fantasy Sports Addicts Anonymous. My name is Tom.
Hi, Tom.
I am a fantasy sports addict.
And my name is Ryan.
Howdy, Ryan.
Howdy. And I am, too, a fantasy sports addict.
All right!
Woo!
That's what we're here today, talking about fantasy sports and our addiction to fantasy sports, and specifically at this time of year, we're addicted to basketball, fantasy basketball. Woohoo!
And all you out there listening, you're fantasy sports addicts, too, because you're listening to a couple of addicts talk about fantasy sports, which almost makes you more of an addict than we are.
But we're happy for that, so thanks for listening. Also, today we're going to be talking about first round pick pairings. We're going to pair all the first round picks with subsequent round players. So basically we're going to take the first 3 rounds of a draft and pair up some players for you.
Because let's face it, the first 3 players on your team really set the foundation and the core of your lineup and what type of team that you have. So we went through in 12 picks and just went through one by one kind of snake draft. And okay, Tom was the first pick, he took so-and-so, I was next. And then we went all the way through and built a team how we would like that team at that particular draft slot.
Okay, but first, before we get into that,
Yes.
I believe we have more questions to be answered.
Q&A, questions and answers.
All right, let's A some Qs.
All right.
You got the Qs all lined up? Are the
do.
Qs queued up, Ryan?
The Qs are queued.
All right.
So our first question comes from Bass Bronson.
Is that bass like bass guitar, like boom, 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 boom?
No, and there's also no relation to Charles.
Oh,
I know.
you brought two too many. Sorry, a little Charles Bronson line there.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so Bass Bronson. What's Bass Bronson have for us?
He wants to know, who do you think will have the biggest drop and jump from Yahoo rankings?
Now, is that from this year to last year or last year to this year or whatever? Or is that...
It's actually based on the updates because they came out, they did their rankings and can draft, but they're constantly tinkering with and updating. And usually before the season actually starts, there's pretty big difference between the rankings when they're first released to when the season starts.
That's for sure. Actually, we've already kind of seen some of these rankings change. I guess, all right, so my first player and our favorite player, we love talking about this guy, Paul George, is going to go up. Paul George ranked in the 20s. That seems silly. He's actually already moved up to 20.
I was just going to say, he was at, 23? Just
2 hours ago when we prepped for the show. Yeah, he's already moved up 3 slots at least.
Oh, wow, Damian Lillard just dropped way down.
Why the fuck did Damian Lillard drop? What the fuck just happened to our rankings, goddammit?
Where did Kyrie end
Why the
up?
fuck is Rudy Gobert top 15? What the fuck just happened to our podcast?
Great question, Bronson. Like I
All
said,
right.
these things...
This shit just keeps... It's fluid. These are fluid situations. I mean, all right, Boogie dropped. Some guys moved up. Some guys moved down. Wow. Durant moved way back up. All right, so we did this podcast. We did research for this literally like an hour and a half ago.
See, what happened is it just changed past midnight, and I guess they updated it.
All right, so this was a great question. Who's going to move up? Paul George already moved up 3 or 4 slots. He's going to move up more. Apparently, Gobert just keeps climbing. I don't buy that personally, but who else do you think is going to move up or down?
I think the biggest person that's going to be moving up, because, these early picks, they only move up a fair amount.
Right.
I'm saying C.J. McCollum.
You think he'll move way up?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Bradley Beal, ESPN has him ranked way higher than Yahoo. So Bradley Beal is probably going to move up. I think I would have said previously that Whiteside and Gobert would drop, but apparently Gobert is now ranked top 15, which is really surprising.
It is, but it's not just because of what he's done in the EuroLeague.
So again, all right, we'll get more into like ESPN versus Yahoo later. Let's save that for the meat of our actual podcast here. So yeah, I would have said Gobert and Whiteside down, Paul George up, Bradley Beal up. You say not Damian Lillard, but Ray McCollum
buddy.
up.
Not Ray, CJ McCollum.
Oh fuck, I'm thinking Spurs. What the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
God damn it, it's past midnight. I don't.
And okay, so then my player I think that is gonna go down or deserves to go down a lot. I mean, Kyrie Irving, I guess he just dropped to 25, which is about right.
That's what we expected. We figured Kyrie would drop a little bit. Yeah, all right, so Kyrie down. He's moved down. We're almost like addressing this question too late all of a sudden, past midnight, and all of a sudden now the question's no longer valid. This was a Monday question, and we're doing the show early Tuesday.
Okay, well, anyways, they're going to change again like they do all the time.
Yeah, check back. Maybe we can answer this again in a subsequent podcast.
Okay. So our second question.
All right.
This comes from our boy Hazy.
Hazy!
And he wants to know what's your take on drafting too many players from the same team in a head-to-head league?
Well, he just said it right there. Too many players. I mean, it's called, in our world, we call this what? Too many eggs in the same basket. You get a whole bunch of guys from the same team, and next thing you know, all your off days are lined up, so you're having slow weeks, or, you know, you do kind of want to have a mix of players, a mix of East Coast, West Coast, a mix of teams, a mix of players. That way your roster's always got players going, and you're not missing a bunch of the same days.
And the main thing is also, you don't want to be a homer. Okay, you're a Spurs fan. Like, you don't need to draft all the Spurs players. And then also when it gets to the end of the year where you might have an off week in the playoffs and your team only plays twice that week and you have all those players and you're screwed.
Yep.
So be careful. Like, we haven't actually gone and looked at the end of the season schedules yet.
No, that's one thing you'll want to pay attention to in head-to-head leagues and also roto leagues, especially head-to-head though.
Roto, it doesn't matter.
Well, whatever. I always like kind of stacking up and being able to slam those last few weeks when everybody else is like, oh, I've already got first, and you slide from third to first.
But you still have the max number of games.
I'm never over my max games.
Well, that's poor management.
No, it's not. It's called saving it for the end. That's what I do. But anyways, roto aside, head-to-head leagues, it's good to pay attention to schedules down the stretch. So, you know, the last couple weeks of the season, who has the most games? Who has the most games that particular week? That might be interesting. If you got Indiana's playing 4 or 5 games the last week of the season, you got a couple Indiana guys, that might not be a bad strategy. But generally, you don't want to put too many eggs in the same basket because it can definitely, well, it can sink a week. Any given week, if you've got all the same guys on the same team, you'll sink.
Sometimes it's about quantity and not quality.
Right. Now, there is one exception to that. It happened, I don't know, at least almost 10 years ago. We did play homers once as Suns fans. It was the run and gun era Suns, Nash, Amari, Matrix.
JJ, Quentin.
It was absurd. I mean, we had, you could literally roster the entire Suns lineup and just forget it. I mean, if you had basically all the Suns, you won that year. And this was back when Sean Marion was the number 1 player in fantasy basketball, but that's not happening anymore. I mean, there's nothing really close to the run and gun Suns anymore. So, I mean, maybe Golden State's the closest, but even still, I don't think I'd advocate stacking up a bunch of Golden State.
Right. And you couldn't anyways, just because they're all ranked high. The thing about the Suns is a lot of those players weren't ranked too high. You were able to get Nash relatively late.
They were all around apart, basically, and
yeah, exactly.
People overlooked the Suns that year, yeah. All right, so what's the next question?
Our last question, this actually comes from Twitter from one of our followers, Danny Treya. He's actually asking us about our Fantasy Sports Addicts Anonymous Fantasy Basketball League that we're starting up.
Which one? Oh, the third one we got to fill out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess we're up to like what, our third.
It's our third league we run.
Should we up it? I mean, the last two filled up pretty quick. I mean, do we need like 14 players? How many players do you think we should have? I say 12, but
12 to 14, depending on turnout, who all wants to get in. If we get 12 and there's a couple more quality managers wanting to get in,
we'll make room.
We'll make room. So he wants to know when the draft is.
Draft is obviously not scheduled yet. We just launched the third league. It hasn't filled up. It's me and Ryan
Tentatively,
so far.
It's scheduled for Sunday, October 18th at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. But that can change. But right now, that is the time.
Sorry, we're biased to like West Coast United States time.
Well, whatever. You can draft and watch the Sunday night football game and...
Yeah, Sunday night's my favorite night to draft, pretty much, so...
Yeah. And he just wants to know, what kind of league is it? What's the scoring and settings?
Head-to-head, standard categories, basically. Standard 5x5. We're not going to do anything fancy. This isn't one of those like, hey, we know more than you.
We got to have double-doubles and triple-doubles and free throw attempts.
Yeah, this isn't one of those like silly leagues where there's like 10,000 statistical categories. We keep it simple. Simple's fun. Simple's easy to play. I mean, again, like we're not trying to prove anything to anybody, and yeah, I hate those leagues where it's like, oh well, I got 10,000 stats, like our experts football league where they got ridiculous stats, ridiculously deep positions, and 2 PPR. I mean, again, it's one of these leagues like they're trying to show, hey, how much do you know? What's your fantasy knowledge?
A quick little side tangent. I got into a baseball league a couple years back that had, 100 stat categories, and I kind of looked, but I didn't really pay too much attention. But there was a stat. The stat was putouts.
Putouts, like
putouts. So
like your girlfriend put out?
No, like you get an out, like you're a first baseman and someone grounds to shortstop and throws the ball to you and you catch it. You get a point for that.
Really?
So first basemen were crazy valued, and
that's ridiculous.
Putouts was like the main stat because you get quite a few of them a game, and
so heavily weighted, yeah.
And it was just the stupidest league, and I didn't realize what was going on until like the third round when there was no first basemen left to draft.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so I mean, don't do that. That's no fun.
Also, sidebar to your sidebar, always check the league settings before you draft. Like, make sure you know what the stats being counted are and how many players and how many positions you're going to have to fill. If you go into a draft like thinking, oh, it's just a standard league, and all of a sudden there's whoa, and all these penalty stats you didn't know about, and it's just check the settings before you jump into a league
We always
draft.
preach that.
We preach that because we have forgotten to do that ourselves, right?
It happens.
But try not to do it. All right, those are okay questions.
Yeah, thank you. Keep them coming. We'll try to include them on our next podcast, or if you leave a question and comment, we'll answer there too, or get back to you on Twitter. However, either way, we'll just go ahead and get back to you on that. But let's go ahead and jump into the meat of our podcast.
All right, so like we said before, we're talking about pairing up your first round picks with players in the second round and third round. Basically, we're going through, standard 12-man, 12-person, let's be politically correct, 12-person league. If you're drafting in the first round, obviously you are. It's a normal draft. It's not an auction. Who do you want to pair your player with? So basically, we kind of compiled this list and our rankings based on a mix of Yahoo and ESPN rankings.
Plus
also,
our own personal bias.
Which we have a lot of biases. And also the kind of thing we've already seen in drafts in terms of like where players have gone in drafts that we've already seen mock drafts or other drafts we've done. Just to note that Yahoo, their rankings seem to kind of reward hype and stat specialists. Anybody that's like, slamming steals or blocks. It seems like they kind of get, I hate to say overvalued, but some of these players kind of get a boost in the rankings that you might not see in ESPN. ESPN tends to be a bit more like realistic or pragmatic. about their rankings. But then on the flip side of that, some of their players seem to be kind of undervalued and underranked. So we kind of went middle of the road, plus our own biasing. And again, like we said at the top of the show, your first 3 picks are literally your team's identity. They all have to fit well together, and they all have to count. You have to make these first 3 picks count. If you somehow screw up and take somebody that's going to sink your team because they're injured or they're serious injury risk, I mean, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're setting yourself up for disaster. So make these first 3 picks count and make them pair up well. Make sure you have a good mix, the right mix. So with that being said, we did our own little sort of snake draft here. I took odds, Ryan took evens. That meant I had first pick in the draft. I was really thrilled about that. I wish I had first pick in a lot of drafts, but I never do. Anthony Davis, I think he's consensus number 1. If you don't draft Anthony Davis in number 1 slot, I mean, nobody's going to throw a poo at you and wonder why you didn't do it, and they'll thank you for letting him drop to somebody else.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm taking Anthony Davis, number 1 overall, always. At least until, things change. But yeah, so if you're drafting Anthony Davis, number 1 overall, you gotta wait. If you're, again, 12-man league, 12-person league, you're waiting until the 24th and 25th picks again. Which is kind of, we always talk about having the wrap pick's nice. But if I'm taking Anthony Davis, I'm really, I'm hoping I'm going to get a point guard somewhere in there and another big man probably. So I'm really looking to take probably something like Nikola Vucevic. Now again, in the rankings, he's climbed up quite a bit since we've just done our research. But if Vucevic isn't there, try to pair him with another big man that gets you good percentages and isn't going to hurt you in like turnovers, same way Anthony Davis is. Also, I recommend a point guard there. I'm possibly reaching a little bit when I say go for Eric Bledsoe. And I'm not necessarily playing a homer here, being in Phoenix, but Bledsoe I think is due for a little bit better of a year. I like him. I like the way his stats pair with Anthony Davis. So I'm looking at something like a Nikola Vucevic, Eric Bledsoe to pair with my Anthony Davis. Now you got second pick. Who are you taking?
For my second pick, I mean, for me it's easy. Steph Curry.
Okay.
I know you're not a big Curry fan, but
I'm not a Curry fan. The ankle injuries from years and years ago, I got burned like multiple years, so there's no Curry for me.
And okay, so Steph Curry, and with Curry, you gotta again wait. So when the 23rd pick comes back, I'm gonna be looking at someone like Paul Millsap. Someone who gets you maybe a 3 a game and just kind of gets you some stats. He's well-rounded. And then for the 26th pick, I like Mike Conley. I like having 2 stud point guards. I got my assists. He gets you some threes, lots of steals. And for there, I think I got a good core and a team to build around.
Okay. Well, I'm on the clock again. I'm taking James Harden. I don't really normally pick James Harden. I don't know that I would personally take him 3rd overall, but I mean, it's hard not to. I mean, again, percentages are pretty good. The turnovers are insanely high. That's the only reason why I'm kind of not a big Harden fan. But so if the turnovers are so high, you can now pair him with another couple of guys who have high turnovers. Not that Kevin Love has a lot of high turnovers, but I think Kevin Love pairs pretty well with a James Harden. And also a Marc Gasol type player. So I'm gonna get my cooking James Harden, and I'm gonna double down on the big man. I'm gonna go Kevin Love, Marc Gasol. Percentages are pretty good. Marc Gasol gets you the blocks that Love doesn't, but you're matching threes from Love with Harden's threes. I think that's a good mix.
Okay, definitely not bad. 4th pick, I'm still going LeBron James regardless of these new rankings. I love LeBron, and again, I've talked about this before in a couple of our videos. I love punting stats with LeBron James.
Perfect player to punt with, right?
Yeah, so I'm punting free throw percentages, and for my next 2 picks, the 21st and the 28th, I'm going to take DeAndre Jordan and Andre Drummond.
Yep.
Now, in these new rankings, they dropped down quite a bit.
Jordan and Drummond both
They
dropped.
both did.
That's odd that Noel and then Gobert went up so high, though.
Yeah, because honestly, I like Jordan and Drummond both better than those
Noel and
players.
Gobert, yeah.
And for me, if I got that team, I'm loving it.
Okay. I do too. I mean, you do have that team. Let's be honest. You do actually have that as a core of your team.
In a dynasty league, nonetheless.
Right. All right. So again, the rankings did change on us a bit, but I'm still okay taking Kevin Durant, middle of the first round. You're not sold on Durant. Do you think Durant's an injury risk?
I mean, the injury reports have been good, and everything's healing right, and the bone graft is taking. Foot injuries scare me a shit ton, because regardless of what sport or how you play, you need your foot to be able to play.
All right. I still feel confident rolling the dice on KD. So we did preach not putting too many eggs in the same basket, but I'm willing to pair him at the 20th pick and the 29th pick. Well, I want all three OKC, but 20th pick, I'll probably take Ibaka, some type of player like Ibaka to pair with Durant. Again, keep your percentages up as much as you can because nobody's really hurting you. And then 29th, this might be a reach to some people, but I just love Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague, I think, is just drastically, not undervalued, underappreciated. There were times, especially last year, where he was putting up top 10 numbers, and he just so frequently overlooked, and just he's that not sexy name. People don't think of Jeff Teague apparently. I don't know why, but so KD, Serge Ibaka, and Jeff Teague. That's who I'm pairing with. That three. I like that.
Kind of good that you took Teague at 29 because that was his last year's overall value.
Okay.
And my sixth pick, I'm taking Westbrook. I mean, we've talked about OKC and whatnot.
Yeah.
I like Westbrook, especially if Durant does go down. We saw the crazy numbers he put up when that happened. But even with the healthy Durant, Westbrook is going to get his. And
he won't get as many triple doubles.
No, but he's still going to get his.
All right, who do you pair him with?
I like pairing him with Blake Griffin.
Okay.
Another good scoring option from a big. And pairing that with Draymond Green. So I got my point guard, small forward, power forward, center. So I got a good, well-rounded team that gets me a bit of everything. I mean, I'm not necessarily killing it in any one category.
Okay.
But I'm happy.
Yeah, I like that. I like that setup. For me, number 7, I'm taking DeMarcus Cousins. I don't know where the rankings on ESPN have him, but Boogie is just pretty much one of my favorite players. Boogie's got good percentages. The turnovers are quite a bit higher than you would probably prefer, but then you can put him with a couple of point guards, maybe have a little higher turnover percentage than you might want. But I'm willing to stretch a little bit and take Kyrie to pair with Boogie. Also, I'll take Kyrie 18th overall, and I'll take Pau Gasol 31st. Pau Gasol, not my favorite player in the world. He's definitely getting a little bit long in the tooth age-wise, but the numbers are good. A good fit with DeMarcus, and also the percentages. That's my main thing. You know me, I like to do the roto, well-rounded, high-percentage teams.
Yeah, definitely.
Who you got at 8?
With the 8th pick, CP3. I'm happy if CP3 makes it to me at this point.
Yeah, he's bumped up in the rankings now.
Yeah, but whatever. I mean, again, CP3. And then if I get CP3, I like going with more your type, the roto-style team, all around. And I got no problem taking my next pick, the 17th, LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah.
Whatever, he's in San Antonio, but he's still going to perform.
Oh,
and then the 32nd pick, I like Oladipo a lot. he does kind of turn over the ball a bit, not the best shot, but he gets you the steals, he gets you rebounds, he gets you assists. And
he's also improving every year.
He is improving. And again, if I got that team, money.
I like it. 9th pick. I hope this isn't too much of a reach. They've dropped him in the rankings quite a bit, but I'm still willing to reach for Damian Lillard.
I'm surprised that they dropped him, especially 10 picks.
Yeah, in Yahoo, he's down to 19th overall, and to me that doesn't make sense. Portland, it's kind of a no man's land, especially in terms of like scoring options, and we did talk about CJ McCollum, but Damian Lillard, I don't know how he's not ranked higher personally. So Damian Lillard, I'm happy taking in the first round. I'm cool with that. And I'm going to pair him with a guy I don't like, but they fit well. I'm going to take Carmelo Anthony 16th overall. And I'm also going to put down another guy I don't like, Chris Bosh. Damian Lillard, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh, you got a lot of scoring there. I mean, where Bosh won't get you as much rebounds, Anthony kind of picks up the slack. So, you got your small forward who gets a bunch of rebounds to go with the great scoring. That's a pretty good core of a team to me. I mean, that's a lot of scoring. There's no blocks, but, you can find that later in the draft.
Okay. So, for 10th pick, Kawhi Leonard.
All right.
Again, small forward that does a bit of everything. So, again, I'm going to try to go with a good all-around team. So, next pick, 15th, I'm going with Big Al Horford.
Okay.
And 34th, Gordon Hayward. So, I got threes, I got blocks, I got steals, I get rebounds. I got a little bit of everything.
I like it. We've preached this ad nauseum about Paul George. As we said, Paul George, one of our favorite players. Paul George, if you're taking him, you can take him in the first round. If he's somehow still there in the second round of your draft, feel free to take Paul George anywhere in the second round if he's still there. He pairs well with everybody. But I'm comfortable taking him later end of the first round. I'm going to pair him with somebody like a John Wall, the 14th pick. And then probably I'm going to try to get a big man, just fitting the numbers together, trying to keep with my roto style. The best option I had available probably was Tim Duncan. I didn't love it. Tim Duncan getting old again, but until he's like literally only coming off the bench or something, how do you not, I mean, even in limited minutes, my God, those numbers are just spectacular.
You don't bet against old man Tim.
No. All right. Round out the first round for us, Ryan. Who you taking last pick in the first round?
Jimmy Butler.
Okay.
And since it's a wraparound pick.
Reach around.
Yeah. Jimmy Butler, Klay Thompson.
Oh, I love it.
I love it too.
That's ridiculous.
I honestly, other than being able to do my punt free throw strategy team, I almost prefer the 12th pick this year, actually, because I love the Jimmy Klay, George Klay, Kawhi, Jimmy,
Kawhi, George, any of that, the swingmen.
Lillard, Klay, any of those 4 or 5 combinations, any two of those.
Okay.
All goddamn day.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
And for the 36th pick, I'm going to go ahead and take Rudy Gay.
All right.
I mean, I know I don't have a point guard. I don't have any bigs at this point. I'm probably going to punt assist, but I should do really good in turnovers and try to get some later in big mans. But I got my steals, I got my threes, I got my points, I got my percentages.
Say you weren't taking Rudy Gay. Would you take a point guard otherwise? Another big man otherwise? What would you do?
I could go either way with that pick. We've talked about Gobert. We don't think he's really ranked that high, but I feel comfortable pairing those two up with him and saying fuck my free throw percentages.
All right.
And maybe a Goran Dragic, the Dragon.
Yeah.
Even though personally I'm not taking the Dragons just because of my homerisms and being a Suns fan and that nasty breakup.
Anybody who asks
It's like
for out,
an
you
old
let 'em out.
ex-girlfriend that you don't want to run into again.
Fair enough. Now, as we said, we prepared our podcast prior to some of these rankings changing, but I don't think that changes our overall valuations of these players. I mean, I'm fairly confident with our 36 picks here. The core of these 12 teams that we've built, I like every single one of them, to be honest. Yours and mine. They fit multiple different strategies. We've kind of applied all of our different draft strategy theories to these 12 teams. I'm confident in that. I mean, I don't know. Again, rankings aren't the end-all, be-all of your fantasy draft. You don't have to go by the book. You don't have to go by the rankings. I mean, feel free to riff as necessary. And especially where Ryan likes to do these punting strategies, you have to. You have to commit. You have to be willing to reach. You have to be willing to, make sure that you hold to the punt and successfully punt and get everything you need. So part of that will be reaching. And don't feel bad if you reach. Don't let people shit talk you in the draft. Like, oh, you reach for Drummond? No, I got Drummond where I needed him. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, especially Drummond. I'm like, I can't believe Roto League. Yes, you stay away from.
Right. You don't. Again, we're not talking about Roto here. These are head-to-head strategies. I think we're mostly applying here. Everybody knows Roto. You don't necessarily want to punt. You stay away from black hole guys. Let somebody else take them. But head-to-head, have a strategy, have fun, reach if necessary, don't be afraid to. Now, we did leave some guys out. Let's talk about a few of the guys we left off this top 36 that might otherwise be in the top 36. I think first and foremost is anybody who goes and looks at the Yahoo rankings especially, they're going to notice Rudy Gobert's top 15 now. Rudy Gobert and Hassan Whiteside and Nerlens Noel. Let's throw them all three together.
Well, especially now that Noel jumped up so much.
I am not willing to take those players so high. First of all, my main issue, like I said, I love high percentage players. I don't like guys that can't hit their free throws. It's just a bias I have. So I'm not touching them because of the free throw percentage. The other reason why, it's a really small sample size to be top 15, top 10, is it not?
Well, especially a player like Hassan Whiteside. I'm still baffled that he's ranked as high as he is, just because he's such a volatile player, and if you know anything about his story and playing in Lebanon, and maybe he matured, but he's still a head case, and who knows if he's going to go off and stick with it and have that drive to become the player that is worth a top 30 pick.
Yeah. Now, not to say that these guys aren't going to be good or good for your team if you have like a specific punting strategy. These are all obviously punting strategy
what's funny,
guys.
like before basketball even opened in our very first basketball podcast that we did, I was on the horn tooting both Whiteside and Gobert, like talking about how much I love them.
But not at that price.
Not at that price.
No. So, I mean, if they fall, if you can get them, if you're doing a punting strategy like Ryan advocates most of the time, and you can get them past like later than their normal ranking value, go ahead and take them. I mean, don't feel bad about it, but they're just not on our immediate top 36 list because of, inexperience and the black holes at the free throw shooting.
Again, I like Jordan and Drummond a hell of a lot better than both of those guys.
As do I, and I
And
don't even
Noel.
punt. Yeah. All
And
right.
they're all ranked higher than him.
All right, a couple other guys we left off. Derrick Rose was really high on the ESPN rankings, and I assume whoever filled out the ESPN rankings was also really high. Because what was Derrick Rose? He was top 25 somehow or something?
Something
Absurd. And I don't even understand year to year how Brook Lopez is still valued as a top 30 player. I will never understand that just because of his injury risk. You were talking about injured feet and all that sort of thing, and maybe we've been playing fantasy basketball too long and we're jaded by guys like Yao Ming. But I would say Derrick Rose and Brook Lopez, those two should be self-explanatory. Injury risk, again, your first three picks, you have to be sure about. These picks count. These have to count. You have to make the most of your first three picks. So do not blow a first, second, or third pick on a guy that is just going to blow up your season. Now, there's a hand, like, we're talking about Paul George coming back from an injury. We're talking about Kyrie. He's probably going to be back sooner than January now. That's not the same case. There's not a long injury history. There's not a repeat offense situation.
Right.
Brooke Lopez and Derrick Rose are both repeat injury offenders.
I think Derrick Rose has played in 100 total games the last 3 seasons combined.
Okay, so we're talking about like Bruce Willis here, unbreakable Samuel Jackson scenario, right? This is unbreakable. They're breakable.
Yeah.
Don't fucking draft them with your first 3 picks, okay? Seriously, leave them for somebody else. We can't stress that enough. Other guys we're not taking.
Basically, we only have one more other guy on here. Ty Lawson.
All
Not
right.
that we necessarily have anything against Ty Lawson. Like,
No.
yeah, he's got a drinking and driving problem. Regardless of that, I just don't think that Houston is a good change of scenery for him.
Not a good fit, you think?
No, because James Harden is such a ball-dominant player. It's his team. He was so close to an MVP. If you watch the way Houston plays, they dribble the ball up, give the ball to James Harden, and let him create. And also, I still think Patrick Beverly is a better backcourt mate than Ty Lawson, given that team, because you can't have 2 god-awful defenders in the backcourt.
And let's face it, Beverly was pretty effective. He's not just going to like disappear somewhere. Like, why they brought in Ty Lawson, we don't exactly understand. It's not maybe the best fit. And hopefully we're wrong. Maybe we're wrong. But just, it doesn't seem like a good fit.
I'm not taking that risk.
Again, don't be the one rolling the dice on something that's really chancy. So, yeah, I mean, these rankings, again, they're volatile. This is preseason. Expect things to change. We sure do. We've already seen them change in a matter of hours.
It's not even preseason yet.
It's not? I mean, this is preseason for fantasy, but I guess not actually NBA preseason.
Right.
Once we get into actual NBA preseason, expect this shit to change even more, right?
Absolutely.
I would hope Gobert goes back down. Why the fuck is he top 15 all of a sudden?
I mean, yes, he's been awesome in EuroLeague, and
That's EuroLeague, for Christ's sake. That's not the NBA.
I love Gobert. I do.
Right.
I really do. Like,
not top 15.
I want him, but I can't
Pay that much.
take him that high.
Maybe next year, if he repeats and he's top 15 this year and he maintains
Yes,
top 15.
prove it to me.
Prove it. Yes, prove it to me. I love that. All right. So hopefully you don't draft a prove it to me player. Try not to. Hopefully you don't draft a injury risk player.
And hopefully you don't draft a James Harden with a DeAndre Jordan or a Gobert or...
For the love of God, pair your players appropriately. Don't just be like, oh, he's the best ranked available. No. Just draft smart. Okay? Pick a strategy, stick to it, pair your players appropriately. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. Right?
Yeah. So you want to try to get similar style players that complement each other well.
Right. You don't want clashing things, which is exactly what we're talking about. A guy like DeAndre Jordan clashes incredibly with a Steph Curry or with a James Harden. These guys are hitting, 85+% on their free throws, and then you got DeAndre Jordan who's hitting like 30%.
Right.
Something in that doesn't add up. So don't do it, okay? Don't do it. We can't stress that enough. Pick a strategy.
Build your team accordingly.
Okay, so hopefully that was useful. I don't know if it was. It was useful to me. I mean, we've already done this a million times this year already. We've done 5,500 drafts, and it's, again, not even preseason, but...
We're addicts.
We're addicts, so don't judge us. And we're not going to judge you. That's not what Fantasy Sports Addicts Anonymous is all about. What we are all about, though, is we're going to give a shout-out to our buddy Hazy, our enforcer. He's now our official FSAA goon. So, Hazy, you're our goon. You're now our enforcer. But shout-out to Hazy and also Everett Chu, 2 of our subscribers and followers and friends of the program. This was actually a request of theirs. They both had the same request. They wanted to know about players they should pair together. So we tried to hopefully help them out, and hopefully this maybe helped everybody else out. If you have any suggestions for podcasts or videos you'd like to see us do, we're always open to that. In the meantime, while you're watching our videos and are listening to our podcasts and all that, don't forget to sign up or send us an email or whatever for our third league. I mean, we still got to fill this thing up. We have 4 or 5 people that are interested. We got to still send invites to them, but that's at least half a league we still have to fill out. So anybody else that's interested, please let us know. Send us a tweet, send us an email, leave a comment in the comments section for either the podcast or YouTube or whatever, and we'll get you into these leagues. They're going to be fun. And again, it's not shenanigans. It's not bullshit. It's not like, hey, we're trying to prove our knowledge to you or anything. This is fun. This is, a community of fantasy sports addicts, fantasy basketball addicts in this case.
Absolutely.
So, also, if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, you should probably subscribe to either our iTunes feed or Stitcher. Not that YouTube's bad for checking us out by any means. We appreciate it. But on iTunes and Stitcher, you can get like the RSS feed, and it'll automatically be there for you whenever.
Wake up in the morning tomorrow.
It'll be there for you.
It's there for you. And then also leave a review. Give us, 4 or 5 stars, thumbs up,
We'd actually, that'd be really helpful. We'd appreciate that so we can get some rankings on iTunes. Otherwise, it just sort of seems like, well, nobody listens to that. And even though probably very few people actually do listen to it on iTunes, if anybody happens to or signs up for it, we'd really appreciate it.
Tell your friends.
Yes, tell your friends. Thank you.
Other managers you're in leagues with, we appreciate it.
And yeah, we're pretty willing to go a great distance for our subscribers and followers. Let's be honest. I mean, we've helped people draft their teams already, so we can't do that for everybody. We can't do that all the time, but
we'll do what we can.
We'll do what we can. And also, hey, by the way, on YouTube, we got that little tip jar thing going on our channel page. So, we hear a little clinky clink or a little rustle of some paper. We're probably even more helpful. I don't know. I feel a little more. You grease the palm, you get better service.
I mean, we're doing this for the love of it, and
for the love of money. If
it helps you out, buy us a beer. Say good job. Have a beer on me.
I like that. You know what? Actually, yesterday, it's now Tuesday, but today, whatever, was National Beer Day, right? So, in that honor, let's have a cheers. National Beer Day, which was yesterday.
I had plenty of beers yesterday. If you saw my last video we made.
Yeah, fantasy baseball didn't turn out so well for either of us. So, there's strikes and gutters in fantasy sports. It's just like bowling and the Big Lebowski. We all know this. But you can't enjoy the winning without a little taste of the loss too, right?
I lost 1 week all season, and I can't bring it home in the championship.
Shameful. But you couldn't have lost to a better manager, so...
Nate Dogg, we love you.
We love Nate Dogg. Nate Dogg's our favorite baseball manager for sure. It was a good baseball season. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it.
Now it's hoops!
Yeah, honestly, I'm really actually, I've been waiting for hoops for a while. As much as I enjoyed finishing up our baseball season, I expected to compete for better. I've really been looking forward to hoops. I mean, I feel like that, again, because we play so many dynasty leagues, I feel like there's just always that 6-month burning, like, oh, I got to make a trade, or, oh, you got to repair what you didn't do last year, or like remedy what was wrong. And so there's just always this desire to get back at it, get back into it. And I'm ready to get back to hoops for sure. So, football, we play football, but we don't care about football.
No.
We're Cards fans. I mean, we love watching the Cardinals kick ass. They've been kicking a shit ton of ass so far this year, but
hell yeah.
We aren't fantasy football lovers, maybe. I mean, we enjoy it, but we don't love it.
No.
We play it. We're addicts because we play the shit out of it. We have to, and we can't stop ourselves. I got to get that needle in my arm, but...
This is not the same as...
Hoops.
Hoops.
I mean, we're biased. We grew up Suns fans. In Phoenix, I don't know if anybody knows the story of Phoenix. There's only one team for many, many years. It's the Suns. If you grew up in Phoenix, you were a Suns fan. That's it. No D-backs, no Coyotes. And up until recently, no Cardinals.
They were a friggin' joke of the NFL.
They were a joke of the town. But the
Yeah.
Suns, everybody in Phoenix loves the fucking Suns. And we still do. So we're biased. We're hoops addicts. So hoops is probably our first love. Let's close with a fantasy sports prayer.
All right.
All right.
I'll go ahead and close this out.
All right, I appreciate that. I forgot it. Remind me.
Fantasy gods, please grant me the serenity to draft my ideal team
Okay.
and the courage to add drop aggressively and the wisdom
As always,
to make good trades.
very important. So, again, your first 3 picks, pair the right guys. Don't fuck your first 3 picks up. Seriously.
It's your foundation. Be strong.
All right.
Like a rock.
Like a rock, a Chevy commercial.
I was going with the Arrested Development.
Oh. Yeah.
Sorry.
We do throw a lot of Arrested Development references in, apparently. Okay. Sitcoms aside, check out our website, fantasysportsaddicts.com. Hit up the message boards. If we're not around, there's plenty of other fantasy sports addicts on there that want to talk to you and help you out. It's a community of fantasy sports addicts, so everybody's there to talk and answer questions. Also, hit us up on Twitter at letter F, letter S, the word double, letter A, at FSAA. We can get back to you anytime. Twitter is probably the best way to reach us, to be honest. Email us. Also, again, please subscribe to our channel if you're listening to this on YouTube. Please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or Stitcher. Tell your friends. Leave a tip or not. Thumbs up's appreciated too. We'll take a thumbs up. We'll take some comments. Leave some comments. And
Woo!
have a great season, everybody. Let's get ready for some hoops.
All right. Woo!
Yeah.